Hey guys, another explosive chapter of Attack on Titan was just released, and man, do I have some very key but quick points that I want to say about this chapter. The first one was that I just liked the whole sequence of how the first 20 pages were structured and the dialogue and the amount of pictures and words. I thought it was near perfect. Not exactly perfect, but near perfect. You know, sometimes things are just way too wordy. Other times there's just too many pictures, not enough dialogue, and they're not even fighting. And sometimes that works, but if it goes on too long, like sometimes in Bleach, it's just like weird. And obviously, that it all depends on your personality. So certain people like more dialogue, but I thought it was pretty darn good. The next big thing is that all these chapters, um, they are oftentimes unpredictable. But this one, the first 20 pages, despite the dialogue progressing and all this stuff happening, it was almost like I knew everything was going to happen because it was kind of like predictable. Like you probably predicted it too. Like it's the first 20 to 30 pages of this chapter. It was like, you know, all right, we thought maybe Historia had immediately pulled the trigger and turned into a Titan, and that was a surprise to me. But the other stuff, like, um, well, the fact that he might, Historia's dad might just take up the injection somehow if you just leave it there on the floor, or the fact that, things aren't what they seem, and it seems like all the Titans are some sort of orchestration to keep peace between the humans. I mean, that was kind of like now, like especially now that with this chapter revealing even more affirmatively that is what happened. It's kind of like, well, I kind of knew this was. It's like I really hope they do something else because it's like the general plot of this is now predictable, and I have great trust in the author that he will switch it up somehow. But if you haven't predicted it already, the general idea is that um, there's some sort of orchestration, and the reason why these people who can control Titans are not telling them to leave has to do something with keeping peace with the humans. And if there's no, threat for the humans to unite under, then there'd be all sorts of potential problems. Maybe the problems that we face as a society, like warfare between humans, lack of resources, battles, fighting, spreading across, lack of abundance outside of the walls. Who knows what else is out there? And obviously, I definitely think if the author spins it right, there's tremendous potential for plot twisters and continuations of this Attack on Titan plot. Maybe once they figure out this whole thing, they can move on to another saga or a time skip where they finally, rid the world of this evil, corrupt government and these evil villains and the military police and the central government, and they, finally clear off all the Titans, which happen to, finally have been revealed to be orchestrated and manufactured from humans somehow, and they finally, figure it all out. It's still like there's so many possibilities outside these walls. Like they have the whole world, and then they, there's so much you can spin off of it and make up on the fact that uh, there's lost history, and there used to be an Asian race and a white race, and um, now the Asian race is almost gone, and what happened across this globe before that. And heck, we're kind of figuring out ourselves in reality. Like we don't know what's out there in outer space, so it's kind of exciting like that. But yeah, ever since Commander Pixis said that line like no, not hundreds, 10, 20, 30, 50 chapters ago, where he was like, "Hey, Eren, I don't know if it's true, but there's this old saying that goes, we used uh, a, a king once orchestrated some fake enemy so that humans could unite and they would not fight amongst themselves." Ever since he said that to Eren, it was like I guess it was intended to be a subtle nod at the truth behind what's going on. But like that was more too much of a subtle. It wasn't a subtle nod. It was like for me, I felt he could have done that much more subtly and made it more mysterious to a certain extent and made you always thinking. But now with this chapter, it's kind of like cemented it, and it's kind of like, well, generally I don't know what's gonna happen. Like what I didn't know that Eren was gonna find a bottle of serum that says armor on it, and I don't know what type of hybrid Titan he's gonna turn into now. Probably like his original version with like more armor. And I didn't know that Historia's dad would screw up and miscalculate, and for some reason he knew that this was the serum for the Titan suited for the highest level of combat, but he didn't know that meant it was the largest Titan of them all, and he screwed up that way, and you could tell because like people were remarking, oh, he screwed up. I didn't know those small things, but that really doesn't matter to me. Like I'm more concerned about guessing and not really knowing and just trying to figure out the main plot line and the general theory and concept of why these people are orchestrating these Titans and so forth. It's all kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of predicted, and I really hope the author just throws some wrench in there so that it's not going to happen. Like that's what I like about Attack on Titan. And right now it's just like, yeah, I feel like I know what's going on, ever since Pixis said that. However, putting that aside, I'm, very excited for what's going to happen next. This monstrous Titan, larger than a Colossal. I think it's interesting because I guess even Historia's dad did not think that highest level combat meant the largest. And then, there's all these little minor questions that are very interesting that we don't know. Like, how do you have all these? Do you have like a library of serums of all these different types of Titans? And then we just still don't know what's going on with the talking hairy Titan. And I guess the thing with the villagers turning into Titans, that's kind of like, okay, it's pretty cool. And just minor things, but still, I just like the whole vibe of this whole thing. And again, I've said it numerous times, Levi is just a ridiculously awesome character. His mind, his way of thinking, how quick he is, and how he executes, and he knows how, like, if he's not on point, and he's always on point, he's gonna die. And he's always on point, he always executes, he gets there immediately, saves Eren, and then they're at a point where, obviously he didn't plan everything because the wall's caving in, and apparently Eren's like the only possible way they could survive. And I'm very excited to see what sort of fight's going to happen. And it also makes me wonder, like, well, what other types of Titans are out there if you have this library and you can choose the Titan most suited for combat. And it's all very interesting, I really want to see what happens. And again, it seems like it's a little bit like Transformers, but it's better because it's like organic monster beings that are not just like giant forms of your original self. Like you transform into these like semi-monster things that are still human-like, and it's really cool. And then there's that dialogue in there where it's like, should I Titanize? I just thought that was amazing. And then what's going on with this armor serum on the ground? Did someone throw that on the ground to him, or was that already there? How did he break that bottle with his teeth? Like, it seems like it was made of glass. Wouldn't that hurt? Or then again, you see Historia's dad transforming into this huge Titan, and his bones are so like hard, rock hard and rigid, and so hot that they don't even dent or break a little bit when they like grow and break all the pillars that make up this cavern. So it's like, it's pretty cool. And I think with these manga, it's kind of weird because it's like, it's bizarre in that, like, if you've seen some of the earlier chapters, especially when they drew out all the like different versions of Titans, you had those like mini Titans with the most ridiculous weird faces and bizarre they're like bizarre sizes and stuff like that. It's like enough weirdness to catch your attention, a little bit too much, but then like it's normal enough to like keep you there, like wanting more and understanding and relating. Like you have the normal humans, some of them are Asian, some of them are white, a great way to relate to a large demographic. And then you have this like bizarre stuff with these weird titans. And I think the the thing it reminds me of is Claymore, which is an amazing manga and very very twisted in how they picture their monsters. But again, I think it kind of makes the manga, and also again, it's still very weird and bizarre, and I wouldn't recommend reading it while going to sleep. But again, it's not a horror manga. It's just like a fighting manga with really bizarre uh, villains, and yeah, I'm just very excited to see what's going to happen. And with this whole thing, I guess I think it's all coming together, and I like that in a way because I feel like if the author's constantly guessing, making you guess, you can just like it would just be too much, and the author will give up. So he has. I feel like the reason why it's gotten so popular, Attack on Titan, is because of this mesh of um, get them guessing enough, and then keeping it somewhat predictable. And most people who create content, they get it wrong when they're in this genre. They don't keep it guessing enough, so it's too predictable. You see that a lot in TV shows that just flop or have very underwhelming endings or season finales. And they're like some suspense thriller, mystery, conspiracy, and stuff like Lost. Again, I'm not disparaging Lost, but you know, I really think Attack on Titan does a decent job, and I'm very excited. And it's all sort of coming together. I feel like the general theme right now is very predictable, based on all the knowledge I've compiled from just casually reading it. And I guess the last thing is just like, I mean, there's more support for this whole theory. It's like, um, you have these titans that are like, you've seen villagers turn into them. Remember, one of the troops' moms turned into a titan, and she was like, "Welcome home," and she could still sort of think. But then you got those like people who are like, um, there's this one human. She was a female who turned into a titan, and then we don't know where she went. But she was Historia's friend, and she mentioned how there was a time when she wasn't human, and she was just 100% Titan, and all she remembers about that is she was in a somewhat dreamlike state, and she doesn't remember what happened before. So she probably like got turned into a Titan, then somehow she was reversed back to be able to flip flop, and then it's like, well, what exactly? I can't remember what happened before. So it's somewhat like a mind wipe, which is coming from the guy, the executor with the power to like do all this stuff, like control all titans and mind wipe people who have the blood to be mind wiped. And again, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Now that I think about it, there are some somewhat more than minor things that are still like you don't know what's going to happen. And I think I really like that because the author throws in a wrench every now and then that's big enough to make you just question like, do I have everything predicted out? And I think the best example of that was when the Harry Titan came out. He was like, it was like before that it was getting somewhat predictable, and he's just like, I need to throw in a big wrench. So he's like, Harry talking Titan, and then we didn't even understand like, where did this guy come from? I thought, okay, so all Titans are manufactured, but what about this guy? And then you start thinking, it's like maybe this is one of those humans that are turned into a Titan, but also like retains his memories, and he's used to sort of shepherd the dumb Titans around. And then it's like, what about the Colossal Titan and the Armor Titan and these guys who were humans and part of the military corps? It's like, well, what the heck are you guys doing in here? Why did you break into the wall? Is this all sort of just orchestrated? And again, I feel like, generally though, the general theme still out, still confirming it every little thing is confirming my general theory, because it's like the Armored Titan and Colossal Titan, they broke in after so many years of peace because things were getting too idle. And the point is, like, maybe it's, I mean, it's, I feel like it's so common sense, and I really hope the author makes something that's not so predictable. But don't be surprised if the answer is, they broke in and they attacked again and broke down the outer walls because they needed to kill off some humans because they were growing too rapidly and reproducing too much. And then it just get too crowded in that facility, and there'd be too little food for everyone to live. So the government orchestrated, or the person who had the power of the Titans, let them in. But then again, that wouldn't make sense because Eren, no, Eren did not have the power until recently. So it does make sense. So they sent all these people in order, they sent all these Titans in order to kill off humans so that they would not fight amongst themselves and start wars off of lack of resources and lack of too many humans from growing too much. And it all is, I mean, I feel like it's just common sense, and I'm like, it all sort of supports my theory, but I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping something better than that takes place. But I feel like that would be a generally good theory or reason why all this is going on. And then you might ask, well, why don't you just like get rid of all the Titans and let the humans just expand outside of the walls and live and prosper? Well, perhaps one could argue that's not a real solution, because eventually the world has a limited size and that growth will be the same thing. But with this limited Titan thing, you can sort of completely orchestrate like all these Titans and this mystery of it and unite the world, kind of like in the film Watchmen, under a common cause to avoid fighting amongst themselves. And it's viable and reasonable and can be orchestrated based on the small size of the walls and the small square footage of people confined in them and the mystery of what's out there. So thanks for watching. As always, like, favorite, comment, subscribe. You know how it is. I'm putting up a lot of videos, and I have so many videos in store on my main channel, youtube.com/willylaugh. And so juggling all these channels is not something I can constantly do. But because I do have a small amount of devoted viewers who like my content and watch until the end, I did this video for you. So if my videos aren't coming out in a flurry on this channel, or it's not as recurrent, I'm still on YouTube. It's on my other channel, so check that out if you just want to see me. And I mean, I'm almost putting out a video 1 to 2 times a day on that other channel now. Good, decent side videos on success and life advice and making money and happiness and dating and stuff like that. And again, on that channel, I'm researching and experimenting with a lot of new things that will come about eventually, and putting in a lot more effort into my videos. I did a lot of research on it, and there's all this sort of stuff you can do: tagging, customizing, and photoshopping, thumbnails, and all this stuff that I didn't put into. So again, leave a comment below if you watch this entire video up until the end, and I will get a good gauge on how devoted my viewers are on this channel. And if you did so and I get a decent amount, maybe I'll put out more videos on this channel. But my main devotion is that channel right now, and there's only so much time in the day. So I really need to gauge on how devoted and how many people watch this channel. And I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.